Donald Trump has built his political brand on projecting strength, confidence, and certainty. But when it comes to the war in Ukraine, even he is running out of optimism. Speaking after high-level talks, Trump admitted he is less optimistic than before about seeing this war end quickly. For a man who thrives on promising easy solutions, that hesitation is telling. And it signals more than just his personal mood. It reflects a shift in how Washington, Moscow, and Europe are calculating the next phase of this conflict. The recent Paris summit, 26 nations gathered to discuss new security guarantees for Ukraine. The headline idea was to create a demilitarized buffer zone, monitored by an international mission potentially led by the United States. Supporters argue this would reduce violence and create space for negotiations. Critics call it an open invitation for escalation. And that's where Trump's skepticism enters the picture. Putin responded almost immediately, making it crystal clear any Western military presence inside Ukraine would be treated as a legitimate target. That is not careful diplomatic language. That is a direct warning. For Europe, already struggling with refugee flows, energy instability, and rising defense costs, the message is chilling. For the U.S., it raises the stakes. How much risk are Americans willing to take to secure a conflict thousands of miles away? The war has already displaced millions, destroyed infrastructure worth hundreds of billions, and drained Western stockpiles of weapons. For Washington, military aid has become a partisan flashpoint. Democrats frame it as defending democracy. Republicans increasingly ask why U.S. taxpayers are footing the bill while domestic needs go unmet. Polls show public support for unlimited aid is eroding. Against that backdrop, Trump's less optimistic tone reflects the political reality as much as the military one. But here's the catch. A stalemate does not equal peace. Ukraine insists it cannot accept a deal that freezes Russian occupation. Putin refuses to back down or compromise on territory. That leaves Western leaders floating halfway solutions like buffer zones. Yet history tells us these arrangements rarely hold. Think of Bosnia in the 1990s or Georgia in 2008. Frozen conflicts stay frozen only until they explode again. Why does Trump's rhetoric matter? Because he represents a huge slice of U.S. opinion. Skeptical of foreign entanglements, eager to cut costs, but also craving strength. His base does not want defeat, but it does not want endless spending either. By dialing down optimism, Trump positions himself as a realist, someone who told you so when peace proves elusive. It's a political calculation. He can blame Biden and Europe for failure, while promising he alone could deliver a better deal with Putin. Meanwhile, Ukraine faces the brutal arithmetic of war. Its forces continue to resist, but fatigue is visible. Western aid arrives, but never fast enough. The promise of NATO membership remains distant. And now the prospect of an international buffer zone raises new dilemmas. Would foreign troops really deter Russia, or would they just create new targets? For Ukrainians, that is not theory. That is survival. For Americans watching from afar, the issue boils down to this. What is the cost of leadership? If Washington steps back, Russia gains. If Washington doubles down, the risks escalate. For U.S. soldiers, for global markets, for the fragile stability of Europe. Neither path looks like the easy win politicians prefer to sell. And that is why Trump's fading optimism resonates. It matches the growing sense that this conflict is spiraling into a long, grinding test of endurance, not a quick resolution. But the debate is bigger than Ukraine. It touches on America's role in the world. After 2 decades of costly wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the American public is tired of foreign adventures. The promise that U.S. power could reshape other nations has worn thin. Many now argue that resources should be redirected inward to repair crumbling infrastructure, address healthcare, and deal with debt that suffocates households. Trump's remarks tap into that national exhaustion. Europe, too, is divided. Poland and the Baltic states want firmer guarantees, fearing that any pause will give Russia time to rearm. Germany and France push for negotiations, worried about economic fallout and political instability at home. The United Kingdom, balancing its post-Brexit identity, insists on standing with Ukraine, but its military capacity is stretched thin. These cracks within Europe make a unified Western front harder to maintain, and Putin knows it. Inside Ukraine, the mood is complex. There is resilience, yes, but also frustration. President Zelensky faces pressure not only from Moscow's aggression, but also from Western fatigue. Every delay in aid shipments deepens the sense of vulnerability. And while ordinary Ukrainians remain committed to resisting, they are also weary of hearing promises without concrete timelines. For them, Trump's skepticism abroad translates into fear that support could dry up just when it is needed most. The irony is sharp. Trump, who once claimed he could end the war in 24 hours if elected, now sounds less sure than ever. His fading optimism suggests he understands what many leaders quietly admit. There is no easy exit. Every proposed solution carries risks. A frozen conflict risks future flare-ups. A full military push risks escalation with NATO. A negotiated peace risks rewarding aggression. None of these options satisfy both principle and pragmatism. So what comes next? Likely, a long test of wills. Russia bets that the West will tire out first. Ukraine bets that Western weapons and resolve will hold long enough to regain ground. And Washington bets that it can manage domestic skepticism while still shaping outcomes abroad. It is a dangerous gamble, with millions of lives caught in the middle. That here's the bottom line. Trump's words are not just about Ukraine. They are about the mood of America itself. Anxious, weary, less convinced that Washington can fix the world. Putin, sensing that fatigue, raises the stakes with threats. Europe clings to fragile plans like buffer zones. And Ukraine? It keeps fighting, because for them, unlike for Western politicians, this war is not a debate. It's survival. The question now is not just whether the war will end. It's whether the U.S. and its allies have the stamina to stay the course. Trump's answer, at least for now, seems to be, don't count on it.